and a high innovative character to the worldwide, to the framework of the nature-based solutions. So firstly, I'm going to share, sorry, because I need to move this. I'm going to share an overview of the project. The project URBAN GreenUP belongs to the Horizon 2020 program, specifically to the topic related to demonstration innovative nature-based solutions. The project started the 1st of June of 2017, and it's foreseen to finish in May of 2022. Even we are requesting an extension, a one-year extension to finish currently the project. The total budget for the project is around 15 million euros, with a European contribution around 13 million euros. We have 25 partners in our consortium, among municipalities, RTD entities, technology center, universities, large scales, large industries, SMEs, non-profit organizations, and public bodies. And we have 9 nationalities included in our project: Spanish, Turkish, English, German, Italy, Portuguese, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Colombian. Okay. Our project wants to demonstrate an innovative methodology to renaturing cities, also introducing a new concept, the renaturing urban plan concept, urban planning concept, sorry, and also through the nature-based solutions implementation and intervention, but also considering new technologies in order to fight against the climate change impacts or actions. So for this, we need to identify the main city challenges, specifically related to climate change. Also, we need to identify and to involve the main stakeholders related to nature-based solutions. We want to demonstrate the implementation of around 100 nature-based solutions in our 3 demo sites: Valladolid, Liverpool, and Izmir. Also, we need to evaluate and replicate these activities at least at European level, and everything from an interdisciplinary approach, of course. And finally, we need and we want to involve social science and humanities. In this slide, we can see the worldwide dimension of our project, with 3 main frontrunner cities as demonstrative places in the project: Valladolid in Spain, Liverpool in the UK, and Izmir in Turkey. We also have 5 follower cities, 2 European follower cities: Ludwigsburg in Germany and Mantova in Italy, and 3 non-European follower cities: Chengdu in China, Binding, Quinón in Vietnam, and Medellin in Colombia. This is the structure of our demonstration activities in the project. We are implementing nature-based solutions in different sub-demo areas in each frontrunner cities. The main feature of this activity is the interconnection among sub-demo areas, and we have categorized the nature-based solutions in 4 main groups about the renaturing urbanization, water intervention, singular green infrastructure, and non-technical action. It's very important to remark the main impact foreseen in our project. We want to generate a new MBAs market, of course, generating and creating green jobs. We want to increase the awareness of benefits of renaturing cities and nature-based solutions to enhance stakeholders and citizen participation. We want to implement the European environmental policies to generate healthier and green cities, improving living conditions and fostering the biodiversity, and also improving mobility and condition in our cities. That's all from my side. Just to thanks to our speaker. I don't know if Alicia finally could be able to deliver the presentation. In any case, thank you very much, Alicia from the Valladolid City Council. Thank you very much, Juliet Stapol from the Liverpool City Council, and finally our colleagues in Alper from the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raul, for your presentation. Alicia did not manage to log in, but we have Isabel who will present for her. One thing I forgot to mention is that we are recording the webinar so that everybody is aware of that. And I think now we can start with our first presentation, which will be delivered by Izmir, so from Sinan. And I will now give you, Sinan, the possibility to share your screen.
Okay.
Okay, now you should be able to do so. Yep, I see your desktop.
Okay.
And the presentation now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Hi, everybody. I'm Sinan from Izmir Metropolitan Municipality. Thank you to Icons to give me a chance to make this presentation. Today, I will present you some of NBS's of Urban GreenUp projects in the areas of singular green infrastructure. There are 10 interventions in the areas singular green infrastructure. I will summarize you in 10 minutes. And I will shortly explain you the demo sites of the Urban GreenUp project implementations of Izmir. We choose the city of Karşıyaka and Chile because these cities demonstrate the transition between urban, suburban, and rural areas of the city. At the east part here, there is very crowded Karşıyaka city center. We designed a green corridor that connects with the existing corridor and creates a network between rural areas and the city center. And at the at the west part, you can see the Chile, and there is rural area of Chile, which is also a wetland and using a salt work. This area is under threat of urbanization. And at the areas of singular green infrastructure, we implemented the Nbs of smart soil into green shade structures, green covering shelter, green permeable pavement around car parking area, green shade structures, smart soil production, nature pollinator modules, climate smart greenhouse, development of smart soils, green fences, and fruit walls. And the general impacts of these implementations are reducing the urban heat island effect, improving urban air quality, increasing plant cover and shadow surfaces, reduction of absorption and retention of heat with highly reflective or permeable surface materials, reducing ambient temperature, increased richness and abundance of pollinating species, increased community engagement. And the first implementation is the application of smart soil into green shaded structures. The benefits of green shaded structures with smart soils are measured in environmental, economic, and aesthetic or cultural ways. And we have two implementation area, Sasol Natural Life Park here and the Valladolid car park area here. In Sasol Natural Life Park, we implemented 338 square meters, and in Valladolid, we implemented 150 square meter area of smart soil. As seen in this section, smart soil is applied on the surface of the area where the ivy structures are planted. The height of the soil is 110 centimeters. And you see the application process of smart soil here. And green covering shelter. The shelters were installed in the parking lots of Valladolid, the same with the smart soil and Sasol Natural Life Park to decrease temperatures and increase pollutants removal with its planted cover. It is designed to integrate specific vegetation with a minimum maintenance, and their structural features allow providing water for plants, humidity, the ambient shade for citizens. And same with the previous implementation, we have two demo sites for this section. On the left side, you see the Sasol Natural Life Park, and on the right side, you can see the Valladolid car park area. And this is one of the final view of green park covering shelter. As seen in the photo, it has planned that the ivy structure would cover the whole roof by climbing this structure. The other implementation is application of permeable pavement surrounding parking lots. Green permeable pavement allow air, water, and water vapor into the voids of pavement, keeping the material cool when moist. We implement two different types of permeable surface here. And in Sasalı, we preferred permeable concrete. And in Valladolid, we used the cube stone, a permeable cube stone here. Other implementation is green shaded structures in parking lots. This implementation helps to increase the shadow surfaces in parking lots. The ivy structures designed to be planted 3 roots for each 1 meter length of the wall of the green covering shelter, and it's going to be planted by investigating different conditions of green covering shelter, such as the angle of sunlight, sun shadow ratio, amount of space for plant. This is the photo from the final view of the application. The star jasmine has been preferred because it's the fast growing species as ivy structures. It is determined that it will cover the roof in 1 year. Smart soil production unit, biochar production unit will be located on a 90 square meter area in the municipality's arboreal site. It is aimed to produce 240 kilograms of biochar per day by using 400 kilograms of pruning waste. And these are the final views from the biochar production unit. First, we put the pruning waste into the production unit, and after 1 hour of combustion in an oxygen-free environment, biochar is obtained. Then we use biochar in landscape. And the another implementation is natural pollinator modules. There are 20 modules alongside Bio Boulevard in Sasalı and around Peynircioğlu stream. The main purpose of this intervention is attracting more pollinator species to increase biodiversity. And this is the final view from pollinator modules from Sasalı. The aim of this is to increase the efficiency of pollination in those modules. We plant lavandula around them. We located oak wood, pine cone, bamboo, perforated brick, and willow branch inside the modules to accommodate different species of bees and bugs. And this is also another final view pollinator house module around Peynircioğlu stream. Climate smart greenhouses. The greenhouses built in Sasalı Natural Life Park as part of Izmir Agricultural Center. This intervention illustrates the current and future effects of climate change on urban farming. We use 3 layout plans here. In part 1 here, the smallest greenhouse, 167 square meter size, and demonstrates the effects of changed climate condition on soils and plants. And the second part is about 216 square meters and demonstrates the parabolic solar heating system and also the use of solar energy for lighting. And there is the soilless agriculture system here. And the biggest one, the last greenhouse, this is approximately 540 square meters, and vertical agricultural production units are planted here. And this is the final view from outside of the greenhouses. And this is the final view from inside the greenhouses. And the photo from left side is the view of soilless agriculture system, and the right side is vertical agricultural system. And development of smart soil from map plant. The raw waste which will be used in biochar production should be considered for different purposes of application. This is a diagram of the invention plan. We use maize plants and trees to compare the implementation parcels with each other. This is view from implementation progress of mud plant agriculture area and preparations of our experimental field area. The next process of the area surrounded by fencing is the parcellation with drip irrigation system. And these are the final views from agricultural parcels. Green fences. Green fences are installed alongside the Peynircioğlu stream to allow development of new green areas and rising biodiversity to provide more attractive environment both for people and pollinating insects. And this is the final view from green fences. The ivy structures are started to cover the fences. In some part of the area, we take away the green fences from the stream to create new green areas and vegetation areas along the stream. Fruit walls. They are planted along decorative wood shelters in some part of the area. The grapes and the blackberries are planted here, and they cover these areas. This is view from wood shelters, and you can see the grapes here. And this is view from the launch for the area. The backward of the launch used as fruit bowls. The grape and berry are also planted here. Thank you for listening me.
Thank you very much, Sinan, for your presentation. If you have a question for Izmir, you will have the chance to ask them in the final Q&A session after all presentations. And now I will pass it on to Juliet, if it's okay. So we keep Valladolid as the last presenter because of some technical problems. So Juliet, if it's okay for you to present, I will pass it on to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I will give you now the right to share your screen. You should be able to do so. Yes, I see your presentation. So feel free to start.
Hello, thank you. So my name's Juliet Staples. Thank you for dialing in today. I'm going to talk about some of the work we've been doing as part of the Liverpool team on the singular greening with URBAN GreenUP. I'm going to talk about an interactive green living wall, look at some other vertical greening, talk about a pollinator roof and some pollinator planting, and then a quick view at some early assessment data. So our interactive green wall, the first one here is located in quite an urban area. It's on the exterior of a garage on Parr Street, and the top left picture shows you it's quite an urban area, no greenery at all. And on the underneath pictures, you can see the transformation that the green wall has had. So this green wall covers about 132 meters squared of vertical planting. It's a soil-based system, and it's irrigated by mains because we're unable to collect enough water from the roof to put in rainwater harvesting at this site. The planting itself, there's over 12,000 different plants, 19 different species, and we have something that we call monthly discovery planting. And what that means is that throughout the year, as you walk along this road, the green wall changes in terms of the plants that you can see. So we start in the summer with early things like daffodils on the top left. We have a range of flowering plants, and towards the winter months, we have things like some red-berried plants. So this makes the wall constantly interesting, and it's interactive because you can get up close, you can touch it, and in the summer, you're actually able to pick strawberries from the wall as well. The green wall's become something really of a landmark in our city. It forms part of our green corridor route, and it's now featured in a number of city and city region promotions and competitions and publications. Most recently, it was used as a commercial to encourage girls into science. So yeah, it's had lots of attraction, lots of publicity, lots of photography. People go there quite often to get their photograph taken. And we've also had a number of inquiries from developers keen to replicate something similar. And you can see here that the wall, we focus very much on foliage types here. The wall doesn't have the best sunny aspect, so we are limited on the types of flowering plants, but we've still been able to create quite a lot of interest with the different planting. In terms of other vertical greening, one of the other innovative solutions we've been testing is something called the Smart Pollinator Pillar. This is a planted system that wraps around a street lamppost. It has a solar panel at the top and a black irrigation reservoir at the bottom. So the solar panel powers a very small submersible pump that pumps water up and irrigates all the planting. The planting irrigation reservoir at the bottom, the black bucket, has a small sciencey thing in there that allows you to connect to your phone, and it lets you know when the water level is low. So we have a mobile app that helps to control irrigation. You can plant lots of different types of plants. So we can plant for biodiversity and pollinators. We can plant for colour and impact, or we can put in species that will help to improve local air quality, for example. You can also add insect homes or bird boxes. We don't actually have a bird box on this one. That is a fake bird box that's actually hiding the pump, but you can include them on some of the other ones. We've used these as route markers for green route, and we've also used them to introduce biodiversity as stepping stones in urban areas where it's been almost impossible to retrofit anything else. They've been very good for creating discussion and raising awareness. We've had some issues over the winter with them, but I'm hoping that now we're coming into the summer months, we will have some good colour and we'll be able to see how effectively they can perform. So although I talked about our interactive green wall, that's not the only wall we have. The wall picture at the top there, St John's Shopping Centre, was actually the first wall that went into the city. It's the largest, over 200 metres squared of planting, 14,000 plants, 24 different species. And at 65 meters long, we think it's probably one of the longest in the UK. And you can see that it's elevated, so it's just near the bus station. You have to look up to see it. And to the left, you can see a brown building, and I'll be talking about that brown building on the next slide. But below that picture, we have a wall that is currently in production and due to finish actually this Friday. So the picture on the left was taken just a couple of days ago, so a little bit further on now with the works. And the picture on the right is an artist's impression of what it will look like. So this is a freestanding, roughly 2-meter high green fence that will be planted on a key retail area adjacent to a very busy road in the city. So we're going to be looking here both at the biodiversity impacts this can have, but importantly, we will be looking at the air quality impacts. So we will be undertaking monitoring in front of and to the rear of the wall, and also we'll be undertaking modelling, mathematical modelling as well, and comparing the two. And we think this wall will have an impact on dispersing the pollutants from the vehicles on the nearby road. What the wall won't have is, the picture there shows 2 cutouts, and the final wall won't have those. As I said, that's just an artist's impression. I spoke about that brown building near the big green wall, and that's the Royal Court Theatre. And the picture on the left shows you what their outdoor seating area and drinks balcony look like. So this is where you would go during an intermission in a play to have a drink, and it wasn't a very attractive space. And then the picture in the middle, you can see that we've added some large planters, lots of different types of plants, and we've created an area now that is much more biodiverse and far more nicer to sit out and have a drink. And then we complemented this. We worked with a TV program who repurposed an old cabinet and added some habitat features to create a bug hotel. So now the pollinating insects that come to feed on the plants also have some shelter and somewhere to overwinter, which is really important. And that repurposed cabinet is also now on that balcony. We've done quite a lot of other pollinator work. I don't have time to go into all of it, but just very quickly, 2 sites here. As you can see, the pictures on the left show they were both green spaces, just forgotten and mowed really. The top one is quite a shady space, and we've now transformed that with woodland pollinator planting and a small trail. So the school children are able to run through the woodland undergrowth as it grows on their way to school each day. Much more biodiversity, obviously, as well. And the bottom site is another amenity space, quite a high profile space in the city, but very exposed. And we've created a coastal site there using kind of a sand-based substrate. And the planting for both sites has been very focused on planting what is best suited for that particular environment. Where we have done our sustainability pollinator works, we've tried really hard to use as many sustainable techniques as possible. We've used organic seeds and plants. We've reused materials between sites. We've tested some different ways of trying to prepare the site. So we've used a flamethrower. That was very useful for areas around tree roots where we couldn't dig very easily without damaging them. We've also used, on the turf stripping picture there on the bottom left, we've done some quite deep turf stripping to help remove the weed seed bank and discourage weeds. And then the bottom picture on the right there, we've tested a range of acetic acid or vinegar mixes to look at weed clearance. And fortunately, they ran out before they quite finished. So I do have a demarcation line between the two. We would need a couple of applications, but the acetic acid is much more friendly, and all of those are much better than using chemicals or herbicides. And elsewhere, the top left picture just shows you some of the other examples where we've used things like natural products like jute netting to retain moisture and suppress weeds on sites. So that's been quite an important element of putting these pollinator sites in. In terms of data, we've generated lots of data, got lots of graphs and lots of observations. It is still being evaluated, it's looking good. And we're looking not just at like pollinators, but also looking at things like thermal imaging and air quality. And we're hoping to build up a story for each of the different interventions in time. I just wanted to finish quickly on one of the other ways we're using our data and analysing it. And this is a model working with Liverpool John Moores University called Ecoserver. And the way this works is we have, I think it's 7 ecosystem services listed there, from accessible nature right down to water purification. And then we have values against them. And those values are % increases from the baseline. So what's happened is in each of the demo areas that are shown on the map to the right, and they're in the black line, the green areas are just additional sites that we've worked with. The black lines kind of show the area we're working in, and we made an assessment of the natural capital value for those ecosystem services in that area before the project started. And since then, we've introduced all these range of different interventions, and we are now calculating the % improvement in that area as a result of these interventions. And the reason this modelling information is so helpful for us is many of our interventions took place during lockdown and COVID. So if, for example, in say top demo area B, we had recorded say a 15% improvement in air purification or air quality, many people would quite rightly argue that that was a false data set because it's been heavily skewed by the fact that people were in lockdown and vehicles weren't moving around the city, etc. And they would be right. But what this modelling allows us to do is to place our information in context. So if we have monitored a 15% improvement, I'm able to say, looking at the air purification figures there, that half of that improvement is due to nature-based solution and the other half is an impact of the COVID lockdown. So this is going to be really helpful to help us make sense of our data during some difficult times. The other thing I like about this model is that we're able to show this visually. So this is about pollination capacity in demo B again, with yellow being areas of really high pollination capacity. And if you look in the center there, we have a small cluster of circles. I don't know whether you can see them just here. And they represent the before, and that's before the green wall and before the pollinator roof. But then post the pollinator roof and the green wall going in, we see this new circle appear, and we have this almost visual demonstration of a whole new area of really high pollination capacity as a result of the wall and the roof. So that's going to be really helpful. So that's all I've got time for, but I hope that's given you a bit of an insight into some of the work we're doing at Liverpool. And if you've got any additional questions, please do contact me and get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Juliet, for your presentation. I think we can now go to our third presentation from Valladolid. So, Alicia, I will now try to give you the chance to activate your microphone. Let's see if it works. Okay, can you try to say something, Alicia?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
good morning,
good.
everyone. I'm here.
I'm not sorry. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I don't think you can share your camera as a participant, because I don't see the option to give you this this possibility. So probably you will have to present without using your camera. But I will now start sharing my screen so that we can see your slides, and I will change them for you.
Oh, that's okay. And I'm sorry to you for the organization and to the people that is listening, because I had some technical issues. You know, sometimes it happens with the IT, and so yeah. Thank you very much for sharing the presentation. And
you just let me know when I have to change the slides. Okay?
Yes. Yes, we cannot see it now in full screen, but that's fine. So I will share with you what we are doing in Valladolid as part of the Urban GreenUP project about singular green interventions. Next. So I will explain you our horizontal green infrastructure, the vertical green infrastructure, and two specific examples of singular green infrastructure, such as the urban garden biofilter and the Pollinators modules. Next. All these are part of the commitments of the Urban GreenUp project, and we are implementing a total of 21 singular green infrastructure. And next. So let's go to the horizontal green infrastructure. I will show you 3 examples: the green covering shelter, the green roof, and the green canopies. Next, Julio, please. These are our green roof in España Square. It's our green covering shelter. As you can see, below the covering shelter, there is a daily fruit and vegetable market, and it's a very well-known place in the middle of the city. Next. As you can see, the green area do not cover all the marquees because they are quite old infrastructure, and this infrastructure wouldn't support the extra load of the green coverage, although it's very light. The total area is almost 500 square meters, and as you can see in the rest of the square, there are no other green area apart from some plants in pots. And we can see along the year how it changes between brown and green and yellow colors, because it has different species and it's changed the different flowering along the year. Next, Julia, please. Another example is something that we have implemented here in, well, it has jumped 2 slides, but it's okay.
Yeah, sorry, I think there was an animation and it changed by itself. So
yes, no, it's fine. You can keep it here or go back to the previous one.
Let's see.
Yes, just stop here and or you can see just a full screen, but I can continue from here. It's perfectly fine, because here you can see what we have implemented. The previous slides showed how it was in the ex ante scenario, that this is a municipal market named El Campillo and has a completely horizontal surface which was not used, and it was in a very bad state of conservation. What we did is constructing this new green area of 525 new square meters, and we planted 2 different types of native sedum. Also, this coverage is very light also, like the previous one, and we are comparing the growing of these 2 different types of species, as you can see in green color and in red color. This new green area is in a roof, and it's completely walkable. I mean, you can walk in through this roof, and we expect delivering some maybe non-technical activities in here for the future with citizens and students and so on. And we are using 2 different types of substrate to demonstrate the differences of these 2 different types. So it's also like some kind of research study. Next, Julio, thank you. It will happen here the same. Yes, we have jumped here directly, but it's fine. These are our green canopies. It's a very, very innovative green infrastructure. It has been, well, the previous examples, the 3 examples that we saw have been designed by one of our colleagues of the URBAN GreenUP project. The company is called Singular Green, and they also designed this very innovative technology of implementing canopies and covering the canopies with green. And as you can see, along the street, because these canopies are 21 units in one street of the city center of Valladolid. It's also planted with plants that make this type of curtain. This photo was taken last summer because this green curtain was very, very long, and it was quite impressive. But next slide, please, Julio. What we see now, although we didn't see this green curtain, we noticed that in winter it has flowered again. So although we didn't see this green curtain, we also see the violet and the white colors of the green canopies. So I invite you to come to Valladolid to see this magnificent intervention. Next, please. Let's go to the vertical green infrastructure. 3 examples: the green facade, the vertical mobile gardens, and the green noise barriers. Next. This is the ex ante, how was the building of El Corte Inglés, which is a department store, before the implementation. Next, Julio. And this is how it looks now. This photo was taken just when it was recently planted, 2 summers ago, on June 2020. Now it looks, the vegetation has grown up, so it's even more impressive. And it's developed in a private building, as you see, that belongs to this department store. So what we did is signing a collaboration between Valladolid City Council and El Corte Inglés department store. Next. The green area is more or less 350 square meters. These are our green letters, although it's located in a very well-known place of the city, which is called Plaza Zorrilla Square. and it has become the postcard of the city of Valladolid. It's like a symbol. It has 12 meters length, and as you can imagine, everyone sits on the bench and take photographs and so on. Next. I have so many examples to share, so that's why I'm running. Another green infrastructure designed by Singular Green is this vertical garden module with benches. We have 2 units. This is located next to the cathedral, so all the interventions are in the city center of our middle-aged city. And next, please. This is the second unit and how it looks when it's completely, the plants are in a very good state. This photo was taken last summer, and as you can imagine, during the winter do not look as impressive as during the summer, but we expect having this result in a few months when the spring comes again. Next. And we have 14 different frames of these small units of vertical gardens. The objective of these small vertical gardens is improving the green areas in the city center in locations where it's not possible to implement green areas such as gardens, new gardens, or planting new trees, which happens in more or less all the city center of our old city. Next, Julio. The green nose barriers has the double benefit is expected for this innovative green infrastructure, also designed by Singular Green. The first objective is acting against the noise, and this barrier is located in the middle of a road with a lot of traffic, with two streets to one side and 2 streets to back, and it has been studied as a street with a lot of noise according to the noise map of Valladolid. Next. You can see here a few photographs of these new green noise barriers. It is absolutely recently planted, so that's why you see the plants so small. We have finished this implementation last month. About this photograph has about 15 days, so we expect and we wait for the spring to see how this green infrastructure grows. In fact, it's a typical or a traditional noise barrier, but instead of being constructed of metal, is constructed of wood. So you can see in the photograph the wood, and it's covered partially with panels of vertical gardens. The total green area is almost 300 square meters, and it has 8 meters length and 3 meters high. Please, next, Julio. Some photographs of the aspect of the cars in front of the barrier, and some details of the plants, and we expect that it will grow very well. Next. Let's go to the urban garden biofilter. Next. This singular green infrastructure has been designed by Cartif Technology Center, which are also the coordinators of the Urban GreenUp project, and we have heard to Raúl introduce the project. Design this innovative infrastructure, which aim is to clean the air extracted from an underground parking. So it's not a normal garden. What it does is cleaning the air and retaining particles and nitrogen oxides. So next. This is also quite recent. This is the biofilter. As you can see there in the top of the biofilter, there are a metal layer, and it's because of safety reasons. And it's located next to the cathedral and just next, close to other infrastructure that I showed you just a few minutes ago. We have also implemented a signal to show to the citizens what is it about and how it works and what's the purpose. So in fact, is below this biofilter you can find a underground car parking. So it's taking part of the air of the car parking and cleaning the air that it's launched to the outside, from inside to the outside. Next, please. And pollinator modules. Next. We will implement two different types of pollinator modules, some compacted one and some natural one. The difference is that the compacted one are going to be implemented inside plots, big plots like the ones that you see in this diagram, and the natural pollinators modules will be as normal green areas, as normal parks, small pieces of land planted with different plants, different species that are suitable for pollinators, such as lavender or rosemary. Next. The composition of the natural pollinators module, the design will be closely to that, with two different types of soils separated with a wood border, and they will not be very big. They will have 4 meters length and 2.5 meters width. And next, we are now on works. So that's the only photographs that I can show you by now. As you can see, that's the idea. And we are implementing 21 units of natural pollinators modules. The idea is generating connectivity between them. So we expect that the pollinators will grow and will jump from one module to the next one. But we are in works, sorry. Next. And it happens the same with the compact pollinators modules. I can only show you now the concept because we have not planted yet, but we are now in the process of finishing this implementation. And as you can see in the photograph on the left, they are the big, large pots which are waiting to be planted. And we expect an interesting social impact when we put these big plots in the middle of the city. Next, please. Okay, we design different compositions of different plants according to sunny places or shadow places, and according to the different types of soil that we are using. Next. And that's all from my side. Next, please. Thank you for listening, and there you have my contacts, and I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much, and thank you, Julio, for your technical support.
Thank you very much, Alicia, and once again, thanks to all speakers for the nice presentation. So now we have some time for questions. Alicia, I think I don't know if you want me to mute your microphone, or I can just leave it on so that you can reply in case there are any questions for Valladolid straight away, because I think you as participant cannot control your microphone. So if it's okay for you, I would leave it on the whole time so that you can easily talk, if that's okay with you.
It's perfectly fine, and okay. I'm alone at the office, so I don't expect any noise on the background. Okay. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we can open with questions. We already have some questions in the question box, and I invite everyone who has more questions to type them in the box, and please also to specify to which the question is for, unless it's for all speakers. It's a horizontal question for all cities. So our first question is for Izmir, and it's from Laura Ribotta. And there's a question about the smart soil in Izmir, and the question is, what type of monitoring are you conducting? Sinan, I don't know if you would like to say something about this.
Yeah, as monitoring, the professors from the different universities are working on monitoring system. For example, I can say we can about pollinators. I don't know, it's very detailed for me. I'm architect, but Okay, about, I can say, let's say the heat island effect. We are monitoring and we are doing some examples about the before and after work, and also the carbon sequestration of the soil and the air. We are monitoring about that, and also the I said before about the insects and pollinators. They are working on that. I can say about that. I don't know is it clear or not, but
thank you, Sinan. I think it's okay, and maybe if Laura has some other questions, or maybe she can contact you via email, and then you can redirect her to your colleagues who are more work on this aspect and can provide more details. So thank you. I think we can go to the next question, which is for Juliet, so for Liverpool, from Balázs. And the question is, you mentioned calculating the natural capital of a certain green installment. Can you share with which method of calculations were you using? I don't know if
Hello.
the question...
Yes, you can hear me. That work has been carried out by colleagues at Liverpool John Moores University, so I don't know the exact nature of the calculations that they're undertaking. The data that I showed is quite early data. We're just at the process now of assessing and interpreting our data, and that's an example, an early example that they've provided for me to talk about the way that we're going to be assessing our data. So I don't actually have the full detail on the method they're using, but if someone's interested, I can put them in touch with the university, or I can find out on their behalf and I can let them know. But unfortunately, I'm not involved in that direct part of the work, so I can't comment further.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. Juliet, and we have now another question from Sinan, again from Balázs. So the question is, will the presentation be available after the event? I can answer this. All the presentation from our speakers will be available on the URBAN GreenUP website, and also the recording of this meeting will be made available on the YouTube channel of the project. So yes, the materials will be available to everyone. So the third question that was for Alicia, for Balázs, was the same one. Yes, also her presentation will be available. And yeah, so we have another question from Laura, this time for Valladolid. Very interesting, the biofilter for the air from the parking. What type of monitoring are you doing here? Alicia, I will activate your microphone because I had to mute it because we had some background noise. So just 1 second for you to be able to reply. Okay, now Alicia, you can speak. Let me know if you would like me to repeat the question or if it was clear.
I take it. In fact, the monitoring has been also developed, and it's been developed by Cartif, the same technology center that designed the solution, and they implemented air quality meters inside the car park and outside the car park. So the idea is comparing two scenarios and two locations. The two scenarios are ex ante and ex post, because they installed the sensors like 1 year ago. So they have a background of data, of air quality data, such as particles and nitrogen oxides and other parameters such as ozone and so on. And then after the implementation, that it was finished on last December, they are also monitoring the exposed scenario. The idea is comparing the values inside and outside the biofilter. That's my answer. Thank you for the question, Laura.
Julio, I think that you are muted. Sorry.
Thank you, Raul. Sorry. Yes, I will go now to the next question, which is for all speakers. It's from Sujitra. Sorry for the pronunciation. And actually, the question is, can you please guide me on locating the design guidelines of these techniques? I think this is probably this question needs a long answer. So unless the speakers are able to provide a short answer, maybe the best thing is that I invite Sujitra to get in touch with us via email, probably, and then the speakers can provide all the necessary details. But in case the speakers have something to say, I would pass you the word. So the question again is, can you please guide me on locating the design guidelines of these techniques?
Hello, this is Juliet. I think, yes, there's probably quite a lot to say around the whole area of design guidelines. And if we all can respond, then they will get a much fuller answer, I think, by email than trying to do something now.
Yeah, Julia, just one thing maybe related to this question. This technical specification of these MBAs are as deliverables in the team site also. So maybe this is a very general information, but just to have if they just to have an overall view of design, of technical design, I think that this kind of information could be created in the team site of the project. No, sorry, not inside, website, sorry, not team site. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah. So the best thing probably is that Sujitra gets in touch with us, and then we can try to provide the information offline with the material that we have available. Okay, so I will go to the next question, which is from Moa. Also, this question probably needs quite a long answer, but let's give it a try. So what regulatory, I mean, it's probably for all speakers. So what regulatory measures are associated to greening assets in implementing the project? So probably, if I understand correctly, the question is about, yeah, some regulatory measures that you had to deal with when designing and implementing the solution that you have shown. So if the speakers would like to say something about their cities, in the meantime, I will activate Alicia's microphone so that she can also say something if she would like to.
Hello, this is Juliet. There are lots of different regulatory measures that you will need to consider. So everything from planning approvals, licenses, procurement, internal approvals and reports with politicians, etc., etc. So yeah, I think that there is a list, and it will be, some will be common to most sites and others will be unique to individual sites. But some of them, they do take a while to go through. But they are manageable. We've got to where we are because we have managed to deal with all those regulatory measures. So don't be put off. That's what I'd say. Just keep going.
Yes, I can add something to this question. In fact, I can give you the two main regulatories or laws that we are using to implement these green solutions, which are the general urban planning of the city. For us, this is the basic, and it's some type of umbrella law, umbrella regulation that we always fulfill when we build something in the city. And related with this, there is a technical code for buildings, but only when we implement something in the buildings, such as the green roof that I saw. You saw in El Campillo Market. These are, as you see, regulations related in general with edification and with buildings. We do not have any specific regulation about an urban greening plan and so on. So we do not have specific regulations about greening apart from using native species and do not using foreigner or non-native species in terms of protecting the green heritage. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. I don't know if Sinan would like to add something or if we should switch to the next question.
And for Izmir, the same with the other cities, and there are also the regulations of planning. And design process, municipality and country regulations, and also the tender processes. There are different type of regulations, and I can mail detail if it's needed.
Okay, thank you, Sinan. So the next question is for Alicia. Again, it's from Tiago. The question is, could you explain more about the removal pollutant efficiency of biofilters, and what is the main maintenance aspect of that technology?
Yes, I go straight to this answer. I cannot be very precise with the answer because it was implemented like 2 months ago on December. So Cartif is still in the process of taking data and having some conclusions. So I'm afraid that it's too soon to have conclusions. But in fact, they proved the technology in the lab, in their laboratory. So they built a few pilots and they tested different materials to increase the effectivity of the biofilter. So inside this garden that you saw, there are several layers of materials, inorganic and organic materials, and they tested different configurations of these materials. So we are sure that we are using the best configuration that they discover in laboratory. And in fact, it works. The solution, it's at least at a laboratory level, is capable to retain particles and and oxides of nitrogen. And according to the maintenance, it will have two different types of maintenance. First of all, the green part, which are the layer located at the top, and it's the easiest to maintain because it looks like a green area. Although you saw that it's covered with this safety layer of metal, because we are sure that the citizens will jump and will sit and will go up or would like to go up to the biofilter. The vegetation is already planted. So on one hand, the maintenance is related with a green area like the other ones, but on the other hand, this multiple layer, we know that in several years it will be it will not collapse. The word is not collapse. It will be colmated or full. I mean, the effectivity will decrease because it will retain particles, and the layers that retain the particles and other gases will start to close. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I can't remember the verb in English. So we know that it will have a life. What will happen when these infrastructures finish its life? We will need to unbuild the current solutions and rebuild it again. And we are aware that this is probably the only solution. We cannot change it easily. We will need to remove the different layers and construct the different layers again. But we expect a life of at least 4 or 5 years.
Thank you, Alicia, for the detailed answer. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. The next question is for Juliet. It's from Eda. And the question is, do you also conduct monitoring of interactive living walls in relation to the interaction between building materials and green walls on the garage structure?
Hello, do you mean just general monitoring around the social aspects around interaction with the wall, or do you mean about the physical attachment of the wall? I'm not sure.
It's not specified in the question. Maybe Eda, if you would like to...
Okay, I can tell you while they maybe type to clarify that we do undertake quite a lot of monitoring around the green walls. So we are monitoring obviously for biodiversity. We're also monitoring for different air qualities such as nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter. We are also looking at thermoregulatory properties of the wall, about how effective it is at cooling the building and the nearby area. In addition to that, we are doing some social monitoring in terms of people's perceptions, the footfall, whether people tend to walk that way more often, take more exercise, the aesthetics on well-being. And towards the end of the project, we will also be looking at some of the economic key performance indicators as well, looking to see, for example, if property values have increased, or if there are new jobs or rateable values, etc., of businesses have increased in the area. So we will be doing environmental, social, and economic monitoring around the impacts of the wall.
I think probably the last part you said was the relevant one, because Ada then added, physical interaction with the wall. So probably, if I understand correctly, it was the interaction of the people, the social interaction, so to say, of the people with the wall.
Yes, we will be doing some. It's not something that we haven't got cameras or anything like that. It will be through questionnaires and surveys of people in the street and how they feel about the wall.
Okay. Then we have another question from Ada. I think it's open to all speakers. And the question is, my other question is, if there are any regulations related to implementation of green infrastructures on historical or heritage structure. So basically, green infrastructure on heritage structure, and if you have any regulations that you have to deal with.
Yes, I can raise my hand because we have this issue, because in fact, not most, all the city center of Valladolid is protected by the general urban planning of the city. So we need to fulfill this law, this regulation, this general regulation, the general urban planning, in terms of respecting facades, respecting elements of the facades. Do not put in new elements in front of historic buildings, such as close to the cathedral or close to the historic buildings and so on. And also when we want to dig and for instance construct the irrigation system of all these technologies, we need to dig because the pipes are underground. We need to ask for a special permission and archaeologically because it's archaeologically connected, so it has a lot of paperwork before starting all these type of interventions. So yes, of course, and it's quite limitative. In fact, what we do, we do not change the facades. We do not make any significant change, but we need to fulfill all these regulations. Yes, it's a difficulty also.
If Juliet and Sinan would like to add something, please feel free to go ahead.
I'd agree with Alicia. We've been quite fortunate in Liverpool. Many of the interventions haven't been close to key buildings or historic buildings. One intervention was in an area of historical importance, conservation area, but we were able to get planning permission. So I fully understand the problems Alicia's had. We've not had them to the same extent in Liverpool.
And in Izmir, we didn't work on the places related to the historical heritage regulations. So it was no problem for us. But it's very confused in Turkey, like the other cities.
Thank you. In principle, we have the last question of the list from Moa. And the question is, can you share some codes associated to NBS in urban planning? I'm not sure what codes are referred to. Maybe I don't know if Moa is still online. She can can type something more about what code refers to. But if the question is clear for the speakers, of course, please feel free to say something. I will reread it. It's, can you share some codes associated to NBS in urban planning?
If I understand the question, we do not have any specific code for implementing nature solutions in a city. in a city. There is nothing specific like guidelines about nature-based solutions in cities of Spain or in Valladolid. You need to fulfill the general regulations for construction, for safety, for cultural heritage, and for urban planning, and so on. But the regulations are the same that general constructions about water and buildings and so on, but there is nothing specific about nature-based solutions.
Right. Do Juliet and Sinan want to add anything, or?
Hello, yeah, I think it's probably very similar for Liverpool. We don't have anything specific. We do have some new guidance coming through about biodiversity net gain, which will encourage developers to increase the biodiversity value on sites that are developed. But generally, there is no specific legislation at the moment that is pushing the introduction of nature-based solutions.
Right. Okay. So I think we can close here the webinar. Thank you again to the speakers and to the participants for attending the webinar. The webinar recording and the presentation, as I mentioned before, will be available on the URBAN GreenUP channels. And we have a third webinar coming up soon on the 6th of April. It will be on water interventions. So if you're interested in that, feel free to register. So you will hear more stories from our frontrunner cities about water intervention. So thanks everyone again, and have a nice rest of the day.
And thank you to all participants listening us.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.